For nearly a century, archaeologists told us the Nazca Lines were fully mapped. Roughly 430 ancient figures, catalogued, studied, case closed. Then in September 2024, a single survey powered by AI uncovered 303 more, nearly doubling the count overnight. But the sheer number of missed geoglyphs is not even the biggest revelation. It is what that failure tells us about everything else we thought we knew. For decades, the Nazca Lines stood as one of archaeology's most confidently catalogued wonders. The official record listed around 430 figurative geoglyphs, animals, plants, and abstract forms etched into the Peruvian desert. This number, repeated in textbooks and UNESCO reports, reflected nearly a century of fieldwork, beginning with early surveys in the 1920s and expanding through the age of aerial photography and satellite imaging. Each new survey seemed to reinforce the sense that the Nazca Desert had finally given up its secrets. Experts traced the origins of these designs to the Nazca culture dating from about 500 BCE to 500 CE. The accepted timeline linked the most iconic figures, monkeys, hummingbirds, and whales, to the early Nazca period, while some geometric or radiating lines hinted at even older traditions, possibly stretching back to the Paracas people centuries before. Yet, the main narrative held firm. The vast majority of the lines belonged to the Nazca, their purpose and execution shaped by ritual and environmental adaptation. The construction method appeared straightforward. Workers removed dark surface pebbles to expose the lighter clay beneath, creating crisp outlines that stood out against the desert floor. With annual rainfall averaging just 4 millimeters, the hyper-arid climate preserved these shallow grooves for centuries. The lack of vegetation and the flatness of the pampa further protected the designs from erosion or overgrowth. Scholars pointed to these environmental factors as key to the site's remarkable endurance and to the belief that nothing major had escaped notice. By 2020, high-resolution aerial surveys and decades of painstaking mapping seemed to confirm the completeness of the record. The 430 figure count, drawn from sources like Maria Reicha's mid-century hand-plotted maps and Yamagata University's modern drone imagery, became the baseline for all subsequent research. In academic circles, the Nazca Lines were considered one of the world's best documented ancient sites, their boundaries and details mapped down to the last meter. The consensus left little room for surprises. September 2024 brought a reckoning that few in the field saw coming. In a peer-reviewed study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Professor Masato Sakai of Yamagata University and his international team revealed the results of an AI-driven survey that overturned the accepted boundaries of the Nazca Lines. Their approach combined deep learning algorithms with high-resolution aerial imagery, scouring the entire Nazca region, an area measured in hundreds of square kilometers, for signs of overlooked geoglyphs. The AI combed through 629 square kilometers of 10-centimeter resolution images, generating over 47,000 candidate locations that might contain previously unknown figures. This was not a case of the machine running unchecked. Each candidate was triaged by human researchers who selected high-priority targets for field investigation. Over a 6-month season, Sakai's team physically visited 341 of these flagged sites. The results were staggering. 303 new figurative geoglyphs confirmed on the ground, most of them the smaller, more eroded relief-type figures that had escaped notice for generations. The numbers alone forced a recalculation of everything thought settled. The official catalog, which had stood at 430 confirmed figurative geoglyphs after nearly a century of surveys, now jumped to 733. The increase was not incremental, but seismic, almost doubling the known total in less than a year. Yet even this new count was provisional. The AI had flagged nearly 1,000 additional high-priority candidates that the team could not reach before the end of the season. If the current rate of confirmation holds, hundreds more authentic geoglyphs may still be waiting in the desert, their outlines missed by every previous generation of archaeologists. For the first time, the question was not whether the Nazca Lines had been exhaustively mapped, but how much had been left out of the story. The supposed completeness of the record once reinforced by decades of careful fieldwork, aerial photography, and satellite mapping, now looked like a comforting illusion. Sakai's findings forced the field to confront the possibility that the Nazca Desert still holds secrets on a scale few had dared to imagine. Questions about the Nazca Lines have never stopped at their sheer number. Even the identities of the figures themselves and the cultures that made them are now under fresh scrutiny. In 2019, ornithologist Masaki Eda and his team at Hokkaido University published a detailed study of 16 bird geoglyphs comparing their beak shapes, tails, and wing structures to living species. Their analysis delivered a surprise. The famous hummingbird, long held up as a symbol of Nazca art, matches not a local species, but a hermit hummingbird, a bird native to the Amazon rainforest, hundreds of miles away. Other figures, once labeled as a parrot or a pelican, also turned out to be species from distant habitats, not the arid pampa. Eda's work suggests the Nazca artists depicted creatures they could not have seen in their daily surroundings, raising new questions about trade, migration, and myth. The uncertainty does not end with birds. The iconic spider geoglyph, for decades described as a local arachnid, has been challenged by zoologists who point to features more consistent with a tropical leafcutter ant than any known spider. These reinterpretations cut against a century of popular labels, revealing how early identifications relied more on assumption than systematic science. Chronology, too, has grown unstable. In 2014, archaeologist Charles Stanish and his team published radiocarbon dates from geoglyph complexes in southern Peru, placing some line constructions as early as 400 to 100 BCE. Drone surveys in the Palpa Valley found dozens of hillside geoglyphs attributed to the Paracas people, distinct in both style and placement. DNA studies have since confirmed genetic continuity between Paracas and Nazca populations, blurring the boundaries between the two traditions. The result is a site where even basic facts, what animals are depicted, who carved them, and when, remain unsettled. The Nazca Desert, once mapped with apparent finality, now appears as a palimpsest, layered with competing claims and shifting evidence. What seemed a closed case is, in reality, an open field of debate. From the ground, the Nazca Lines seem to defy logic. Vast, precise, and seemingly impossible to grasp without flight. Yet, the first recognized sighting came not from the sky, but from a hillside. In 1927, Peruvian archaeologist Toribio Mejia Cespe spotted the lines while hiking the foothills, proving that vantage points as low as 13 meters above the plain can reveal entire figures. Decades later, a simple tower along the Pan American Highway still offers a clear view of several geoglyphs, undermining the myth that the lines were invisible to their creators. The question of how these figures were made has long attracted speculation about lost technologies or secret knowledge. In 1982, investigator Joe Nickel set out to test the practical reality. With 5 helpers, he recreated a full-scale condor spanning over 130 meters on a Kentucky field using only wooden stakes, string, and basic surveying methods. The group finished in 9 hours. When a wildlife biologist viewed the result from ground level, he identified the bird immediately. No aircraft, no supernatural insight, just careful planning and teamwork. But while the lines have survived for centuries in the arid desert, their future is far less certain. Modern threats have grown more severe and more frequent. In December 2014, Greenpeace activists entered a protected area near the iconic hummingbird, leaving deep footprints and permanent scars in the fragile surface. 4 years later, a truck driver veered off the highway and carved deep ruts through 3 geoglyphs, erasing sections that had endured for millennia. Illegal gold mining now scars the pampa, with satellite images revealing fresh pits and tailings encroaching on unsurveyed sites. Conservation officials warn that only a fraction of the newly flagged geoglyphs have been visited, let alone protected. Many lie close to roads, trails, or mining zones, exposed to accidental or deliberate destruction before they can even be documented. The scale of the new discoveries means that the old boundaries no longer apply. As the catalog of known figures expands, so does the responsibility to protect what remains. Peruvian heritage officials call for expanded surveys, stricter enforcement, and urgent funding to map and safeguard the lines before the next irreparable loss. The Nazca Desert, once thought to be fully understood, now faces a race against time, not just to uncover its secrets, but to keep them from disappearing forever. Today, nearly 750 Nazca geoglyphs are recognized, yet each new study, like the 2024 discovery by Sockeye and IBM Research, exposes how much remains hidden. Archaeology's certainties are provisional. As technology reshapes what we know, the desert's secrets remind us history is never as settled as we assume.